You remember that story from a few months back, I think it was February, when it was discovered a field office for the FBI down in Richmond, Virginia had issued a memo to leadership, all the really good cops in Washington D.C. who make decisions for the FBI, decisions like spying on a presidential candidate and lying to a federal court to obtain a search warrant and a wiretap warrant so they could spy on innocent people, just to disrupt a presidential campaign and eventually a presidential administration. Yeah, those guys in the FBI main office, they got this memo from Richmond, and it said, listen, I know you guys are really worried about domestic terrorism, and we all know that white conservative Christians are the chief offenders of terrorist acts in this country. So we down here in Richmond, we got a great idea. Let's spy on them, but not just any white conservative Christians. Let's go after Catholics, traditional Catholics who go to the Latin Mass. They're the worst of all. They're against gay rights. They're against transitioning children to another gender. They're even against abortion. These guys are the worst of the worst. They're just one day away from flipping out and blowing up a federal building. We got to get in there. We got to spy on them. In fact, we got a great idea. Let's recruit priests in those churches to spy on our behalf and then inform on those traditional Latin Catholics, inform back to the FBI. Yeah, we're going to get priests to spy on American Catholics. I'm only overstating it a little bit. I mean, that's really what the memo said. I'm giving it a little flair and a little character, but that's what your FBI suggested our government do. Now, when it was exposed, of course, everybody disavowed it. In front of Jim Jordan's Judiciary Committee, the FBI Director Christopher Wray was unequivocal. Let's watch a little bit of that hearing.
Without objection. Director, what's the difference between a traditional Catholic and a radical traditional Catholic?
I'm not an expert on the Catholic orders.
Well, your FBI wrote a memo talking about radical traditional Catholics. I'm just wondering if you could define it for us.
Well, what I can tell you is you're referring to the Richmond product, which was a single product by a single field office, which as soon as I found out about it, I was aghast and ordered it withdrawn and removed from FBI systems.
You were aghast, and why won't you let us talk to the people who put it together?
We are working on finishing an internal review into what happened
We have to wait. We, the Congress, and the American people have to wait until you do an internal review. It's not a criminal investigation.
You've seen this story enough to know that Christopher Wray is, he's just saying whatever he has to get this committee to leave him alone so he can go back to his business of spying on other Republicans when he doesn't get caught. But you heard what he said there. This is a single product from a single office. And when I learned of it, I was aghast. Remember that, will you? Single product from a single office. When I learned about it, I was aghast. Let's fast forward a little bit further into this hearing because this is a critical exchange. Watch.
Let me just read from page 4. Provide new opportunities to mitigate extremist threat through outreach to traditional Catholic parishes and the development of sources with the placement and access to report on places of worship. That's pretty fancy language for they're trying to put informants in the parish, in the church. That's what this memorandum said, Director, from one of your field offices. And you won't let us talk to the people who did it. Any response to that?
I didn't know. I was waiting for the question.
No, you think priests should be informants inside the church, Director?
We do not recruit, open, or operate confidential human sources to infiltrate, target, report.
But that's not what this said. It sounds like you were trying to do it in Richmond, Virginia.
No, sir. No,
you
sir.
Weren't? This didn't happen? You can assure us that this didn't happen?
That product did not, to as best as we can tell, result in any investigative action as a result of it. None.
You know what the motivation for this was? Why would they even think about doing this? You know what the motivation was?
Well, again, I think that's what our internal review will find, and I'd rather wait until I hear what the results of that internal review are.
Well, I don't need an internal review. I can read the document. I assume you can do the same, because it says right there on the same page. Richmond assesses extremist interest in radical traditional Catholics is likely to increase over the next 12 to 24 months in the run-up to the next general election. Same paragraph. Events in which extremists and radical traditional Catholics might have common cause include legislation, judicial decisions in such areas as abortion rights, immigration, affirmative action, and LGBTQ protections. It's politics. That's the motivation.
Of course it is. That's exactly it. You see, these traditional Catholics who go to the Latin Mass, they've got the wrong ideas about issues that are really important to the Biden administration. So they must be terrorized. They must be investigated. They must be scrutinized. They must be spied on. Eventually, they must be arrested for thinking the wrong thing. Now, over in the Senate, Senator Mark Langford of Oklahoma, he got his shot at Christopher Wray, and I want you to watch this exchange. It's going to be eerily familiar.
Of new avenues for tripwire and source development. Wow. This goes specifically into these radical traditional Catholics and explains what a traditional Catholic looks like on it. Help me understand what's happened since then when this has come out.
Well, first, let me say that when I first learned of the piece, I was aghast.
As you should be.
And we took steps immediately to withdraw it and remove it from FBI systems. It does not reflect FBI standards. We do not conduct investigations based on religious affiliation or practices, full stop.
Yeah, and it was a single product from a single office. And did you hear him again? I was aghast. Aghast. By the way, the memo was written in January. It came to light in February, and those hearings were done immediately after. The internal review from Christopher Wray, still going on as far as we know. No results. How long does it take to figure out what happened here? But don't worry. It was just a single product from a single office, and he's aghast. Except it wasn't a single product from a single office, because now we've learned, due to unredacted FBI memos that were just released this week, that in fact the Seattle office of the FBI participated in this investigation, this memo, this call to investigate Catholics, as did the Los Angeles office, the field office for the FBI. So now you've got three offices all talking about the same thing. Let's investigate those Catholics. Do you really believe Christopher Wray when he says that nothing came of this? And as soon as he saw it, he told everyone, stand down. We're not going to do this sort of thing. It's not the kind of thing we do. Really? Why wouldn't it be? Look at all the other things they do and have done. So they lied. He lied. The director of the FBI, under sworn testimony before the House and the Senate, lied. It wasn't a single product resulting from a single office. There were multiple offices involved with this. It's much more extensive than he said it was when he was asked specifically. And this is the same FBI director who refused to hand over unclassified information to Chuck Grassley and Jim Comer earlier in the year, having to do with that attempted bribe of President Biden and Hunter Biden from a Ukrainian national. Remember the FBI 1023 form? He refused to hand it over. It was only under threat of contempt did he finally hand it over. And there was no reason why he shouldn't have. There was nothing pertaining to national security in that document. It was political. Again, it was political. And now we know he lied to the FBI. I wonder now, from Chairman Jim Jordan in the House of Representatives and the Judiciary Committee, I wonder what more he needs to see from our FBI director. We know he just lied to you under oath. We probably have even more cover-up going on of this operation to spy on and recruit informants in Catholic churches, in places of worship, against innocent American citizens who are being targeted solely because of their religious faith. We've had threat after threat after threat to hold Christopher Wray in contempt. Well, what is more contemptible than blatantly lying to members of Congress while giving testimony under oath? If he's going to lie about this, what else has he lied about? Chairman Jordan, at this point, this man sitting in front of you holds you in contempt, holds the House of Representatives in contempt, holds the American people in contempt. It's time you do the same and charge Christopher Wray, the director of FBI, for contempt of Congress. It's time. It's past time. But what do I know? I'm just a traditional Catholic. There's more to come on O'Connor tonight.